Welcome everyone back to the arena with your hosts, MD, and me, Matt. Today we have a special guest with us, Michelle McKenna. Michelle and I went to school at the University of Illinois together, not too long ago, peeps, we're not old. And she's a senior client parker at Cars Commerce. But what most intrigued me, I guess, with Michelle was just her journey with faith. I guess just authenticity. I get the sense that Michelle's very authentic, and those are the types of conversations, types of people we like to have join us in the arena. So without further ado, Michelle, thank you, one, for coming on, and two, who is Michelle McKenna?
Oh my gosh. Well, you touched on something that I already want to speak on, but thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Um, Especially that you were messaging me saying my faith drew you to it. Because that's something I feel like I've been on a journey of really diving into this year and sharing it more. It's one of those things where it can be, intimidating to share because you don't want to feel like you're shoving it down people's throat. But I just felt more called to speak on my experiences. So that means a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I live in Dallas, Texas now. I work in sales, so I guess I speak to a lot of people, and so it's a great opportunity to connect. But yeah, I'm a child of God, I guess, if that's my introduction.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that this is where we're starting. So I s- uh, and I don't know if people know this. We probably have new listeners, and we don't talk about this enough. But our conversations are totally unscripted, and like Michelle can attest. And I think shout out our guests who I think do a phenomenal job of just being on the spot. What I will do is I'll stalk their social media if I can, like the night before, to just get a understanding of who the person is. And normally you'll get some pretty in-depth bios like performance coach, therapist, author, trauma survivor, healing journey X. And when I opened your profile, something really interesting happened for me, which was
Don't follow me, follow Jesus.
yeah, it
I
was
saw the
it
same
was
thing.
yeah, it was 5 words, right? And it's like yeah, the almost 15,000 followers, which I thought was ironic. um but what I realized was when I read that, it's only 5 words. Don't follow me, follow Jesus. And I think the first thing that came to mind was I thought it implied that you yourself are a follower. And beyond that, what I noticed was an array of assumptions started to come up in my own head of like who you are, how you are in the world, how you carry yourself. And what I noticed was like so many of these assumptions weren't even like they don't originate from my own experiences. They don't really even originate from like my own thoughts. More I think coming from different social circles, coming from different environments growing up, I think there are a lot of assumptions, both positive and negative, or however you want to perceive them, that can kind of come up with what somebody would perceive you to be in the world just
Yeah.
off of those 5 words. And
Oh,
so, curious kind of two things there, right? Like, number one, your experience maybe firsthand when you are maybe more overtly introducing yourself in the world as somebody who's faithful and a follower of Jesus. But number two, I felt like you're trying to communicate something about yourself in that bio. And I think it's only fair to you to, squash all assumptions and just let's better understand, like, what are you trying to communicate to the world in terms of like, who is Michelle when she writes that?
I feel oh my gosh, that's such a great, great question. I'm honestly elated that you've already had positive assumptions just by that entry point, which it used to be, listen, I'm a silly goose in a world of serious geese. Okay. So my my bio for 6 years was paper cut survivor because I was like, that's my trivial thing. But it also just making a joke of life could always be worse. We're always overcoming. But I just really felt called. I actually changed that in September. This year I've dove so much deeper into my faith and I think it was 2023, end of 2023. I archived all my Instagram posts from high school, college, early adulthood. I just felt I was like, your social media should be a representation of who you are. It is, we hate to say we judge a book by its cover, but we do. When you look at someone's page, if they are out all the time, you're like, okay, this person likes to go out all the time. If that person was like, oh my gosh, I love to stay at home, you'd be like, your social media doesn't reflect that. That was my impression. I was like, oh my gosh, you're really fun. You love to go out. Or, you know, if someone's always in the outdoors and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate the outside, you'd be like, that's so bizarre. It's a glimpse of who you are. And I felt like my social media didn't really represent like who I was at a core. And I kind of feel almost like I did a rebirth. I was seeking external validation and I was posting what other people like to see, not like what I wanted to share. So I archived everything. I was like, I'm just going to share like people, things that I enjoy like as my posts. And I also felt like if someone comes at my page at a glance, like, and then they leave, what are they seeing? And so that was like my little bio of like, I don't need any more social media followers. If you want to follow the journey, like great. But if you're here, like this is what I'm going to post. And this is like important to me. So I felt like it was like not false advertising. Like you're going to sign up for more of this. Like you're going to see religious quotes. You're going to see me reading my Bible. Like I go to the beach, but you're not going to see like Miami bikini pictures anymore. Like that's just, you know what I mean? It was like, this is what you're signing up for. And like, if I could give one impression at a glance, like that's the one that I want people to know. Like that's the one fact about me that like you know, I am following Jesus, and it's important for anyone in my life to be on the same page or like okay with that. They don't have to be where they're at in their spiritual journey as I am. Like I think that's my job to kind of bring them closer to God, but like you at least have to respect that's my beliefs. That's like important to me. You know what I mean?
I got you. I am curious, faith wise, and I really appreciate that answer. Normally, people don't find their faith in moments of like the highs. Normally, people find their faith when they are tested in challenging moments. They hit their rock bottom, whatever it might be. I know I'm speaking from personal experience, but also just from experience from I've heard from lots of others. So I'm curious your journey in terms of maybe initially finding your faith and then maybe the journey that has now called you to speak more about it, to put it in your bio, whatever it might be.
It's funny you say that because I think people need to hit rock bottom to realize like Jesus is the only person there with you. Like you have to sometimes feel so alone where like he's the only person there and you're like, okay, that affirmed it. I was raised Catholic, like my parents are Catholic. I was raised in the church, but pretty much like everybody else, like just going to church. My parents weren't even like super faithful at the time. And then I was interested in religion. Like, are y'all, I don't know if y'all are Catholic. I don't know if all the branches of Christianity do like the 7 sacraments or whatever. But when I had to get confirmed, I remember asking my mom, like, well, how do I know my religion's right? Like, what if I was raised in China? What if I was raised Buddhist? Like, would God not love me because like my circumstances were different? My mom was like, that's a really good question. She was like, go research and come back. Like, we're not going to force you to get confirmed. So I researched other religions and I felt like Christianity felt the most aligned with me. So then I got confirmed, but I didn't really like research too deeply. And in my freshman year of college, Matt, I don't know if you know this, I went to Indiana and then I transferred to Illinois. And I took an intro to Christianity and religion class just as an elective because I thought it was really interesting. And it like taught me so much more. And so I was always like kind of by the book religious. We went to church. When I left for college, my parents got so much more faithful. And I think probably January 2020, so I can't attribute it to COVID, but I just like felt a shift in my energy and I felt like I did feel really low and I had moved to a new city. I didn't have any friends there. I didn't have any family there. It was very isolating pre-COVID and even, you know, then it got worse with that, but I did get to like a really low point and a few times in Miami I was feeling like I was at a rock bottom and I think Jesus being the only person that was there really pushed me to be like, this is when you see the dark, where there's dark, there's always light. So when you see that darkness, you're like, there has to be this much goodness on the other side, but it's sometimes hard to see when you're in that mindset.
I thought it was interesting that your mom's reaction was very sort of laissez-faire and just like go and explore the world and come back to your own conclusion. Whereas, you know, I kind of grew up in more of an environment where I would say that that was like almost like not encouraged to question. It was like scary, I think, to openly critically think about, you know, is this even true?
Well, as you like
um
fear God, you're like, I don't want to like question God and like I don't want like to be struck by lightning. Like what's happening?
Well, I mean, like, right. And the whole thing is like, you're supposed to just believe. And I'm like, well, can we question and then believe, or can we question while believing? Can we do any of this? Something you said was interesting to me, which was going back again to the makeup of your social media representing who you are. You said something around like wanting it to reflect who you are at your core. And I think we can all maybe relate to our own Miami phase, if you will. And I'm just
I know it's
curious, like,
ironic that that's where I was living too, of course.
yeah,
But the
and
stereotypes are true. Like it has it for a reason. It's great place to visit, beautiful city, but it does have a weird vibe to it.
yeah, and I think what it did was, and what so many of us do, our content often reflects, like you said in your own words, what other people want to see. And I'm curious, like, how long you were aware that what you were projecting or putting out in your content was misaligned with who you felt you were at your core. Was it like at the jump? Did it take a while? Like, how long did you maybe live with that disconnect or misalignment with awareness of it? And then ultimately you made the change. But just curious, like, how long you lived in that misalignment.
Not that long. I feel like when I felt like it wasn't aligned, I was like, I just need to get rid of everything, which is funny, but yeah, it was like, and Instagram's algorithm's all weird now, but it was like one of my friends one time said to me, like, why do you post that if like a picture of you gets 1,000 likes and a picture of a tree gets like 100? And I was like, because I liked the picture of the tree. Like, I wanted, it's my page. Like I wanted to post it. So like, I don't know, I thought the sky looked pretty. Like, I don't care. Like I'm not, but there was a time where, yeah, it was like that social validation of like you posting for likes and you're like, well, people don't like this. I mean, literally, they don't like the tree. They like want to see like me and my friends or like the things I'm doing. But I was like, there was also just a time, I mean, that TikTok trend where it's like, there's going to be a time in your 20s when you hear someone, a voice that says, don't do this or whatever. It was like, it really was like that. Like I was like out at a nightclub in Miami and it was like, there was a voice that was just like, you don't belong here. And like that for me was like, okay, like I don't feel right here. Like I don't belong here. This isn't like what I like to do. And I was just like, okay, like I'm going to go home. And, there's just like a shift and, not everyone has like a dramatic shift just like out of nowhere, but like, he was like, I don't belong here. This doesn't resonate with me. And I looked at my page and I was like, if I was a potential, like someone who was looking at my page, like, should I be friends with this person? Should I date this person? Like you, it is like a dating app too. I'm like, you judge a book by its cover. And if someone's like, I don't think they like the things that I like, or this isn't someone that like aligns with me. I was like, this isn't someone that aligns with me as I'm looking at my own page. And so I was like, I just need to get rid of everything and start over. I mean, I love to stay in. And so like everyone has their interests. There's nothing wrong with that. But if someone loves to go out, and I appreciate like a nice dinner, a nice cocktail, but like I'm not like interested in the club scene. If someone likes that, they're probably gonna look at my page and think I'm boring. But that's fine. Then they're like not gonna pursue me. But if somebody and they're gonna see a girl that goes out and they're gonna be like, she looks like a lot of fun, like that's what I'm interested in. That's fine because they have the same interests. If someone's like, I really like to stay in and like I love a home cooked meal, they come to my page and they're like, okay, she looks like she aligns with that. So I was like, I just need to like, I was attracting the wrong people in my life as like friendships and relationships. And I was like, I think it's kind of what I'm putting out. Like the image I'm putting out is attracting the wrong friends, the wrong relationships, the wrong people because that's who they think I am. So it was a pretty quick shift once I like realized that.
How have how have your relationships evolved with people as you've I guess stepped into actually I'm curious like who did you I don't know my brain goes in weird ways.
I'm just too.
Who did you think you were maybe and then ultimately realize this is who I actually am? Like whether it was who you thought you were or who you were trying to be relative to who you are present day, understanding we are always evolving. I'm learning more about myself every single day. I feel like feel called to do different things, kind of like you said, but like generally speaking, what has shifted when it relates to your level of awareness about who you are?
Yeah, I think like even I hate to use like social media, but like saying like being who I thought other people wanted me to be. Like, I don't really think I had a sense of identity. So it wasn't like I was almost trying to just be who I thought people wanted me to be versus like who I wanted to be.
Which was
And
like what? I guess like who did you think that people thought that you thought people wanted you to be?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess just like and I'll say this because I'm 30, but like in my early 20s, I was better looking. I was like a hot young girl. Like, I'm not saying hot now, like just like going out, doing things. I'm like, it's so empty. It's so surface level. And like, I didn't find any depth and connection in like, and I look back on some of my friendships that like I'm no longer friends with, but I was friends with in that stage of my life. And it was like, I thought they were like sisters. I'm like, they were very surface level friendships because we were focusing on surface level things. And when you start to like, you can't find depth in a kiddie pool. So like you have to graduate and like learn how to swim. And sorry, I speak in analogies sometimes. My
I was just
clients,
gonna say I love them because I can't. They don't come natural to me, but I love hearing them. I resonate
my
with them.
clients laugh at me all the time. My friends call them Michelleisms. Like my friends like, you
Oh,
should
that's
write a book.
awesome, man.
What? Just like of one liners, like, but I think Matt, one of your opening things, I wrote the word down on my little notepad here, but like you said, I come across very authentic, which I think that is like the utmost compliment because I mean, there's nobody you can be other than yourself. Sorry, it said reconnecting if my Wi-Fi cut out. But
We got you.
there was a study actually. So like, when people are like good vibes only, like everything is energy. We give off energy, like when we give off positive vibes, negative vibes, we attract that. It's not, we vibrate at an energetic level. There was a study where I don't really understand how they did it, but they put people in like pods that blocked out all of their energy and just read what they were giving off. And they studied, they gave them different emotions and they were invoking different feelings and, you know, recording the negatives and the positives. What do you think the highest, like the strongest vibration that people could give off is tied
Mm,
to?
I think I've
Love.
heard this study. I might be cheating, but go ahead. You go first, MD.
You said love. That was high, but that wasn't it.
What did he say?
Oh, self
Love.
actualization, I think. Or is that
No,
like
no, 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 no. I'm gonna say,
I'm
and
thinking
this is truly what I
consciousness?
think. I think the highest vibration would be authenticity. Is that a feel like
That was
gratitude? One
it.
of those two.
Yeah, it was authenticity, which is wild because whether it was negative or positive, just being authentic was like had the strongest like magnetic pull. It was the strongest frequency you could give off. So I just felt like, I think at a million miles a minute. Sometimes I don't have a filter. Like I said, I'm an open book for better or worse. But I was just like, I, I mean, I just need to say what I want to say and be authentic. And I think that's when I kind of started realizing who I am is just like how I feel is how I feel. I shouldn't like, if I'm feeling this way, I shouldn't try to like manipulate it into feeling a different way about it. Like, well, I should be happy about this. Well, I'm not. Like, like how I'm feeling is how I'm feeling. And that's what I'm going to project. If I want to post something, I'm going to post it, whether it's a thought, a story, something I think is funny, something I think is motivating. Like, if I'm feeling it, I'm going to share it. And I think that's been like where I've kind of found like who I am. It's just like however I'm feeling in the moment, like whatever I'm thinking, whether it's my thought or God's thought, putting that in my head, like this is how I should react in this. And that's not being perfect. Like I'm also Italian, so I can get like a little temper. I can be a little sassy. And like someone I used to date recently was in Dallas and they messaged me something and I was kind of a sassy little, you know what, back. And he probably didn't deserve that. And so yesterday I was in mass and I was thinking, for whatever reason, I thought about it like 4 weeks later and I was like, I should apologize. I'm like, he probably doesn't want to hear from me, but like, that's fine. I sent him a voice text out of church and I was just like, want to explain where I was coming from. Like, this is why I was feeling that way. You don't have to respond. You don't have to acknowledge this. You might not even listen. And we had like a really great conversation after, but I was just like, so, being authentic isn't being perfect. Like you can certainly like have your faults, but I think also I was feeling like I should apologize. I apologize. It's not like, oh, I'm too prideful. Like if I'm feeling like something's weighing on me, I need to like address it, move on. And I think that's where like being just like authentic comes in of just like being your best self of I wasn't my best self at one point, but I need to apologize for that. Like that wasn't how I wanted to carry myself. even if we're not friends or we don't move forward from this, I want him to at least know, like, there's no ill will. I just, like, reacted in a way because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, that's kind of a
Coming
bar.
out of church will have you doing some great things. You getting that people go for that reason
I
because
mean, I'm
you
sure when he saw my name pop up on his phone, he was like, oh gosh. And then he's like, oh no, like a 2-minute voice text. But I also just feel like I love it. I love a voice text for hating my own voice and like agreeing to do this. Like, I love a voice text. I just feel like you can hear tone, inflection. Like, if I were to just text someone like, hey, sorry about that, like it might not have the same delivery as like a feeling that they can feel that I'm genuine. Like I'm really like, hey, I'm really sorry. I responded in that way. It doesn't excuse it, but I want to give you some clarity into like an insight into why I acted that way,
Yeah, no, and I love the quote there of like being authentic doesn't mean being perfect. And you sort of already kind of got us here, but this is far more than just like a social media conversation. This is it almost feels like once you get to 30 years old, we're all living like a similar life, and we're on a similar in a similar place, which is really discovering like who you actually are. And I just did a journal prompt this morning, which was like, what advice would you give 15-year-old you? And my answer was very timely and relatable to this conversation, which was, I wish I worried less about what my friends were doing. And I wish I worried more about like who I actually am and like what I actually care about and what I would actually pursue and what would make me be in this world more passionately and more authentic to myself. And so I am curious to better understand about you, how much of this journey are you still on in terms of not only discovering like who you really are in the season of life, of course, and then like what other things have you had to change beyond just archiving your posts? Like where else have you had to like rethink, decisions about where you're at in the world, which is, which could be where you live, like what you do for a living, who your friends are, like what else has had to have a little bit of a makeover, or at least you've had to rethink, based on you living a little bit more intentionally aligned to who you are?
Yeah, I think like it's funny you say like makeup. Even that, I'm like, I wasn't gonna wear makeup today, and I was like, I spilled something on my face. I'm like, oh, God said you're gonna wear makeup today. Like, I'm just trying to like put God back into like every aspect of my life, which is something I'm struggling with, honestly. Like feeling almost like guilty. And every morning I read this book, Jesus Calling, which it's like a little excerpt. It's written by someone who turned it into like a message for today's time. And then they like cite the Bible verses why they like feel like God would say that. And the other day it was stop trying to categorize life into, and I'm paraphrasing 'cause I'm going to get it wrong, but it was basically like stop trying to categorize life into things that you need me for and things you don't need me for. Um like I should be
Mm.
with you in all aspects. Like stop trying to handle things that you can handle and things that you need my help with. But I was like, I feel guilty. Like I pray for people all the time. I think the strongest prayers are when you're praying for somebody else, but I'm like, I want to pray for my cousin who has brain cancer. I don't want to like pray that God lifts my ban on TikTok. Like that seems so like silly. Like I'm like that's so dumb. But and I'm saying it here like it's recorded. You guys are my witness. Like I have been wrongfully banned on TikTok for almost like 6 months. And I have about 40,000. I had about 40,000 followers on TikTok. People are unfollowing me because I don't post. But even that, I was like, I think now I'm like, wait, maybe I do need to pray to God about this. That's going to be my way. Like when he restores my account, when he does, because it's not an if, when he restores my account, that's going to be a way that I can, again, archive all my posts. Like I'm not going to be like doing silly things. Like I just posted funny things. Like it was just to make me laugh, make other people laugh. But I'm like, I'm not going to post about funny things. My first TikTok when I'm restored is going to be about how TikTok support did nothing. Literally when I prayed, it was restored. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's just another way to reach people. But like, I think I've been struggling of like, do I like, not almost like I don't want to bother God with this problem. Like it's so trivial, but it's like, God does want to be in everything. And I think part of like that makeover, like you said, I'm no longer friends with certain people that I was. I mean, I've lost like a 10-year, friendship that I looked at that girl like my sister, and I was really upset about it. And the more I prayed about it, and I don't want to say God replaced her with somebody else, because it's like, people in your like life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Like, she was a season and a reason. I've learned something. And I got like a new best friend through this year. Like, I've met someone and we've connected, and she's so much more aligned with me. She's like faithful. We are so like, I was like, that friendship was gone. I could put my energy into somebody else. But like, that has been like a life makeover, essentially. Like, I moved cities. I've stayed connected with some people that are important. I've lost connections with people who clearly were not like aligned with my path, and that's fine. Like, wish them well. We're just on different paths. But like, I think trying to bring God back into every thought of like, why is this happening to me? Like, it's not a loss, it's a lesson. Like, why did I lose that friendship? I was so upset over it. And it's like, I've learned something. Like, I'm seeing like that's where my life would be if I stayed friends with her. We aren't aligning now because I took a different path, and that's fine. But like, bringing God back into like every thought of like, why is this happening? What is this trying to teach me? Is a blessing? I just like don't know how yet. Like, that has kind of forced that life makeover, those friendships makeovers, like the people in your life, like where I live, like feeling guided to move from Miami to Dallas. I'd visited here like once before I moved. It was just kind of like, I think I would be happy here, and I'm so much happier here. But trying to put him back in like the why when I'm questioning things, because we really never know. Um, but he knows. And so it's like, okay, I can be patient. I can trust your timing, trust your plan. That has kind of forced a life makeover in a sense, unintentionally.
And so
That was a very roundabout way of answering that.
I'm curious, what would you, are there any areas of your life, because I feel like we are constantly kind of like, and now I'm going to take a page out of your book and use an analogy. We're kind of like
Okay.
snakes, if you think about it. Like, we're kind of shedding skin. You see where I'm going with this? But we're shedding,
Yeah.
snakes shed their skin. And I feel like we're constantly doing that when it comes to our identity of surrendering who we think we are, what we think will make us happy, in order to allow ourselves to like truly find what that is and who we are. So I guess, are there any areas of your life where you are most struggling, or any areas of your life where you were struggling to let go of who you thought you were, who you thought you were supposed to be, relationships, whatever it might be, in order to step into who you truly are?
Yeah, I think like, well, I think the best message there is like, it's never too late to start over, and like, we're always evolving. Like, I think sometimes people feel guilt of like, I'm so far gone, like I'm too far to be saved, or like they struggle with like
Ah, kills me.
believing in, they struggle with believing in Jesus because they're like, well, even if he existed, like he would never love me. Like, I don't deserve it. And like, and truthfully, none of us deserve it. And God is so crazy. God is so amazing. Like, at one point when I was really struggling in Miami, I was walking my dog on our morning walk, and I would sit by the I would sit by the ocean and pray every morning. And I never used to do like organized prayer, like, or like a prayer that you would say in church. I just would like speak from my heart. I was like, I just have a relationship with God. And one day I was so like lost for words, and which clearly doesn't happen often. But I was sitting there and I was like, I literally don't even know what to say. So I said an Our Father, a Hail Mary, and like a Glory Be. And I was like, God, just like give me a sign today on this walk that like something's okay. Or like, I'm like, you're affirming that you're hearing me. And like, these guys ran past me. So you know how you can hear people's voice when they're running and then they pass you and you can't. This guy running said, we deserve his wrath, but we get his mercy. And then he was running with someone talking, and I'm like, holy moly. And then I look up and he has like a cross on his shirt that says like saved, on the back. So I'm like, this is wild. But that is really where it's like, we do deserve his wrath. We don't deserve his mercy, but that's what we get because of Jesus. And I think the thing I struggle with letting go of is like, I can be really stubborn and, treat people how you want to be treated. I'm not perfect, like we've said, but I really do. I struggle letting go of like when I've been burned by somebody, because I'm like, I would have never done that to you. And like, I didn't deserve that. Like, I didn't deserve that. But like, Jesus was also betrayed. And that also like kills me. It's like, he was human. He gets it. Like, and I don't know if you've seen The Chosen. I just started watching it,
Same.
but
It's amazing.
I kept seeing clips of like it on TikTok, and someone like was like, he was human. He gets it. And like seeing the tears in his eyes when like Judas betrayed him, like Jesus was betrayed. Like he gets that feeling. Like he knows it. He knows how I feel. And I was like, oh my God, I just want to hug him. Like that. But I'm like, that's something I really struggle to let go of. And I was like, he gets it. Like it's part of life. Like it happened to Jesus Christ. Like he was betrayed. I've been betrayed, but like Jesus forgave them. Like I need to forgive them. That's something I really used to struggle with, was like forgiving people for my sake, forgiving people without an apology. Like you're not always going to get an apology, but like for your energy and your well-being, like you need to let it go. And I think, oh, go ahead, Mike, what were you going to say? I was just going to say, you said something earlier, like if you could go back to 15-year-old you, like what advice would you give? Like I would never redo high school, but if I had to, I would like tell myself like, I did not peak in high school. Let's just say that. Like I was a floater, but I wasn't like the cool kid. But I would just say like, stop caring about what other people think. Stop trying to be like your friends in high school. Like you are who you surround yourself with, but like, just like embrace being a floater, like embrace being friends with whoever you want to be friends with. Like stop trying to people please, or, I think that like being who other people wanted you to be started at that age, just because like everyone wants to feel accepted. Like I would just say like, F it. I don't want to curse on your podcast, but
No, you
I
can't.
don't, I'd be like, F it. Just like be who you feel, authentically you, wear what you want to wear. It doesn't matter. I think, and I look back on the people that I actually thought were cool in high school, not like the popular crowd. And it was like the people that like really didn't like care. They just like liked their things. They had their interests. They like, like even if people were like, oh, like that guy's kind of weird. I'm like, but he's like kind of cool. Like he just like doesn't care what you think. Like I think he's kind of cool. Like that would be my advice to 15-year-old me, is like, just like at that age, I wish I could go back and just be like, just be yourself. Like don't try to be, you know, who you think other people want to be, or like who.
And
Yeah,
actually,
my best friend.
it aligns well, real quick. It does align though, real quickly, what you just said about the highest energy being authenticity. It's
Yeah.
like,
And
why am
like
I
people would
why
have
do I
liked
want to
me
be around
better.
this weird kid? Well, because he was himself, and he
I was like,
wasn't
I'm
trying to
kind of
be.
drawn to him. And I've always been a very energetically like connected person, even probably before I realized it. But so yeah, I was like, I was probably drawn to him or her, whoever, because they were like authentic. So their like energy was low key magnetic. And I was like, I don't know, like, yeah, he's always doing his Rubik's Cube in the corner, but like, I think that's kind of like badass. I can't do a Rubik's Cube. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, he can do it in like 30 minutes. Like, it's just like, those are the things where I'm like, I wish I could go back and basically tell myself to just be myself sooner. Like, people probably would have liked me more. I would have had more friends. I would have like, and if I didn't, I wouldn't have cared. Like, if I could just go back and be like, be who you are today at 15. But I mean, with time comes wisdom and knowledge, and that's like how we evolve. Um, and I think that's the goal, is to always be better. But I think that would have been my like, go back and just like, who cares about your MySpace top 8? Like, who cares if you're not in it? Like,
Well, I
make
mean,
a profile picture. Like,
I would have had very different friends in high school.
right,
And if you just, followed that authenticity piece there, and I probably would have had more friends that actually I would still be friends with today.
right.
Because it's really like, what was this
You outgrow
relationship born
people
out of?
because you're shedding the skin in Matt's analogy, but like you outgrow people, which is
Right.
fine
Yeah.
too.
And
But like,
funny enough, like my best friend from high school, I'm still friends with to today. And the thing that brought us into friendship or was kind of like that Rubik's Cube example, which was like, this guy is unapologetically himself and I'm here for it. And for whatever reason with him, I was just like, yeah, I'm going to be your friend. And like, we're still friends till today, because like, I think it started from a place of like connecting with who he actually was versus everybody was just more in this snake scale skin period of time before shedding. So, question for you though, because one of the things you had mentioned earlier was kind of this if, or not if, but when this happens. And that's so much, I think, largely driven from your faith. And we were talking about TikTok, but this is not a question about TikTok. I think sometimes there's an assumption that people who are faithful, or And we can even translate it to the self-development space. Matt, maybe you can chime in here too. Good question for both of you, really, because we talk so much about trust and surrender, which in a sense is
It's
what
really
faith
hard,
is.
but
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
really
hard to
hard. But thing is, I think when people get there, say, they see Michelle as a faithful follower of Christ, right? I think what people can get wrong, what we often might get wrong, is this assumption that your faith is just a given at this point, and it's not something you have to continually demonstrate. And what I mean by that is I think faith is strengthened continuously by more and more challenges, next level challenges. And so I would love to understand from somebody who is on this journey, somebody who is a follower, my understanding of Christianity and how I practice it is I do try to observe where is my faith being tested right now in this current moment in my life. And in the self-development sense, it's like, where is your ability to surrender being tested the most right now? So for somebody like you, Michelle, who's far along in this journey, where do you feel most tested in your faith at large, or maybe a recent example?
I think like my biggest challenge is like my mental is like a mental challenge, which is like feeling unworthy and like feeling undeserving. Um, but it's funny you say like, we make assumptions about it because I'm like, it is a journey and it's always like, I think like having a relationship with God and it's like a relationship, like any other relationship. Sometimes you go through like strong points and sometimes you have like dips. And, I think like waiting on God's timing and I genuinely like, we all have our issues, but I have a great life. And I think like, that's where people can look at me and assume like, oh, it's so easy to be like grateful for her because she like, I wish I had what she has, or like, it's so easy when you see someone in a high point and being like, oh, they're so grateful. Like, of course they're grateful. But like Matt, to your point earlier, like when you hit rock bottom, like no one sees that. And when we're talking about social media and we're talking about our life, like you're sharing the highlights. You're not sharing like, I'm not posting a video crying on social media. Like I'm at rock bottom. Like if I did, people would be like, oh my gosh, you're seeking attention. Like, you know what I mean? Like even if you were trying to be like vulnerable and like authentic, like, hey, real Instagram, I'm having like a really bad day. People would be like, you're posting that. So people are like, oh my gosh, have a better day. But like, you know what I mean? You're not sharing those low points too. But I think like it's easy to look at someone and be like, of course, like it's easy to be grateful. It's hard to be grateful in like those struggling seasons, but like we're always in those too. And I think that's where like you're saying, like, what is God trying to teach me in this moment? Um, I have trying I'm trying to be better about like asking God for affirmation. And I guess not last night. So Saturday night, I was like, I stopped at the grocery store. I usually buy myself flowers. I usually buy roses. They're my favorite flower. And something was like, go back and buy the white ones too. So I bought red and white roses. I'm like, yeah, it's Christmas Eve. On Saturday night, so that was Saturday, I was like praying, tomorrow at church, I really hope something resonates with me. Like, I really hope the homily like hits me hard. I hope it's like a good slap in the face. I hope like I see something immediately that like clicks. They put their Christmas decorations up. I sit down, I immediately look and see a huge bouquet of like red and white roses. I'm like, okay, God just was like, I was the one that told you to go back and get the red and white ones. This is your sign that like this is gonna hit for you. And the homily was basically about like waiting. Like no one likes to wait. But if you're waiting for something that like is not good, you get anxious. If you're waiting for something that's like good, you get excited. Like when grandkids are like their grandparents are coming, like they're excited. When your friend's visiting, you're excited. He's like, the version of Jesus we're waiting for is if we're scared because we've not been a good person, or if we're excited because like we know that we're building a relationship with him, we're excited. And I was just like, I do think I just need to wait more, like, and trust the timing of like this. If you're, praying for a job or you're praying for a partner, like I've been praying for my wife and she's not here yet. Like, stop doubting and trust the timing of like, you maybe aren't the right version of yourself to meet her yet. Um, so it's just been like that smacked me in the face. And I was like, every time I ask for something from God, I receive it. And I think that's where like the not if, but when of like, you truly have to believe. And that's where people are like manifesting. I'm like, I think that's just confidence in prayer. But like knowing that will deliver, I just have to be like, okay, give me a sign tomorrow that like, I was like, God, I love when you give me signs. I love when you affirm that you hear me. And like the next morning I wake up to like see something that connects or clicks. And it's just like, you really just have to ask. But I feel guilty asking sometimes that I'm like, I should just be like blindly faithful. But I think God like likes to give us those signs. Like he likes to talk back to us when he can.
Matt, I want to hear your answer to that too, but it's so powerful to hear like it's not so much about the what, in terms of like, what do I have or what do I not have, and what do I have to prove or strengthen the resilience of my faith, but also just having a faith in the when and the timing. It's like we really can't control so much of that, and that's just powerful to hear it from like a different lens. But Matt, I'm just curious, like where maybe you feel currently most tested, and hopefully the question's clear, right? I'm like,
Oh, the question is very clear. The answer is very clear. I mean, I'm actually going to take maybe a spirit. I've been very spiritual for the last 3 years. My spirituality has evolved in terms of how I guess, stay grounded in what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis to do that. But I feel like faith is a choice. I was actually just reading about, like, it's not like I always, like, it's not like it just comes to me now. Like, I got to I make a choice every single day, especially when there's uncertainty that I can feel of, that's when I'll get out, like I really talk, I have conversations with God. I just say, like, there's a part, for example, my business, one example, like the pipeline slows a little bit, it's my first, you don't get as many calls, all this stuff. And it's like, well, my result is one, maybe an anxious, result. I get anxious and it's like, all right, well, I need to think of another, service line. I need to find some more revenue, generate somewhere else. And so then it's like, well, what do I do as a result? Well, then I want to go and hire someone to mentor me, whatever it might be. But those are all made from a place of, again, I think we talked about this the other day, but they're all made from a place of fear and anxiety. And if I actually take a step back, and when I started to meditate and pray, what I gathered was that I don't actually need any more quote unquote clarity on where to take my business next. I just need more faith that where I'm going is going to get me to where I want to be. That what I'm doing currently has worked thus far, and it's going to continue to work to get to where I want to go. So I guess a long-winded way of saying, to me, having faith, whether it's faith in God, whether it's faith in the universe, like whatever your faith is being put in, is a conscious choice that you have to make. And like Michelle said, I only know now because for the last year or so, I felt very close to God. But then the last few months, I felt a little bit, and I thought that's just how it was. Like, I'm cool. I'm cooling for the rest of my life. I'm good.
Like, I'm
Like, I
good now.
got it. Yeah. But then, like, over the last couple of months, I felt myself maybe drifting away a little bit. Didn't really understand why.
But I think that's valid.
And
It's a relationship too. It's going to go, and that's where like we have to give ourselves the grace. We struggle with that. Like, but if God would give you grace, you deserve to give yourself grace. And like, it's a relationship just like anything else. You're going to go in and out. It's going to have like, where you're like, you're my best friend. And then there's going to be times where like, it's okay to say like, I'm having a bad day. I'm having a bad faith day. Like, and that's really when you need to pray. But I think you have to give yourself the grace of like, sometimes it's not, unfortunately, you're not going to just like get to this point. It's not like a linear climb from there. Like, there's going to be ups and downs, but like you're still trending upward.
because, like, for a while, there was so much clarity. All areas of my life, I'm like, I'm good. Like, God's speaking to me. Like, I know exactly where to go. And then last couple of months, it's like, God, I'm asking. I'm not hearing. Like, my listening ears aren't working or something, because I'm not catching what you're giving me. Like, I'm still a little bit unsure where to go. And I think it's in those moments where, you really, that's actually where faith is built.
Yeah.
Is in those moments where there is a lot of uncertainty. So,
and strengthened.
And
Your faith is strengthened from those moments, right? It's like
Yeah,
when things aren't going your way, where you start to doubt, where you start to wonder,
because it
am I
will
being
click. It's
heard?
not if, but when. But then when it does, you finally see that. And I think people that like aren't faithful and aren't religious and like they struggle to be like, well, I'm just supposed to believe like there's some mythical man in the sky. And I'm like, well, what? I love being like, what's the harm? Hypothetically, like if he doesn't exist and we all just like die and go poof, like if you pray, if it, like there's no harm, then okay, you were silly in your own head. Like nobody needs to know that. But like, what if he does exist? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, there's no harm, like putting faith into him. Like people that don't pray or like when they're down, they're like, my life just sucks. I'm like, okay, well, humor me, like pray about it. Like, you don't even have to tell me if you did, if you think it's like stupid or you think it's silly, but like humor me. Like, okay, so you just think you talk to yourself for an hour. Okay, whatever. Like no love lost. So like, that's where, like you're saying, like that's where faith is built. And I think that's when like the people who are disconnected, like that, like God is just waiting for them to like ask, and I always love the quote that's like, he's a, I don't care how far you've gone, I just want you to come home type of God. Like, I don't care how long you've been gone. I don't care how far you've walked away. Like, just come home. And that's where, like, when people have those doubts, those low moments, and like they're not faithful, I'm like, just humor me. Like, just pray about it and see what happens. And they're like, I don't know how to pray. I'm like, doesn't matter. Just pretend you're talking to the mythical man in the sky. Like, have a conversation and see what happens. And I swear, like, that's when people's lives change. And like, I think that's like why we need to be faithful, but not like shove it down people's throat. Cause I've had people like DM me and be like, I really like resonate with your post recently. Or like, I was having a really horrible day and I saw your post and it like smacked me in the face in a good way. Like, that's what I needed. And so it's like, that's when why you should share things. And that's when people like have those, I think, most encounters with Jesus, like when they're on those rock bottoms, when they're having those low like moments.
I think, people ask like why I've gone down the route I have, and it's like, I just like the person that I am in this, like, I just have followed what is true to me, whether it's in truth, as in, it just feel, I like the person that I'm becoming. I like how I feel when I am meditating and praying on a daily basis. I didn't even know how to pray 2 months ago. I literally had to look up on ChatGPT. I said, ChatGPT, can you how do I pray? You could look on my history. I said, I don't know how to do it. And it walked me through it. And like, I still couldn't do it, but, I don't, but that's not what's important. What's important to me is why you're doing it and where your head is at when you're doing it. Like,
Do
are
you,
you
Mike,
just,
do you meditate too? How do you guys like, I struggle with that. So I'm curious. I feel like, if both of you do, that's amazing. Like, how do you quiet your mind? I think that's like my biggest struggle and probably a lot of people's of like when they meditate, like I'm always thinking of something and I'm sitting like, is my posture good? Like, am I breathing too fast? Like, I'm literally like thinking about everything. Like, how do you guys quiet your mind to like truly meditate and like feel like you're getting something
Yeah.
out of it?
Well, I never said I was good at it. But yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you start paying too much attention to how you're breathing. You start wondering how much time it's been. You start getting bored or anxious about it. Yeah. And I think I think the best way to meditate is to first recognize that it's a skill that requires practice. And, um, it's something that, like playing an instrument, 9,000 hours to become an expert, right? So like, I think giving yourself the grace to understand and not judge that if it's 20 seconds, that's not enough time, right? And then see if you get to 45 seconds, right? Or like, don't even keep track. But for me, it's morning and it's a mix of, look, to me, I think prayer is meditation because I think it's just being unconditionally present with yourself and having a conversation with yourself with a divine power. To me, I think meditation and prayer are so overlapped and it's the same motion. It's the same modality, in my opinion. It's really about, a lot of prayer is, very thankful, right? It's a moment to kind of sit with gratitude and like, what are you grateful for? What do you want to affirm about yourself? What do you want to say to yourself to strengthen self-belief? And just any moment in the morning, I usually have like a bowl of bone broth sitting on my table. And before I indulge in my first meal of the day, like I'll sit
And
there.
what bone broth are we having?
Oh shoot, what's the brand?
kettle fire?
No, it's not Kettle Fire. It's this other one from Whole Foods that I like better, but I'll send you all the brand afterwards. No salt added. Throw some turmeric, squeeze some lemon in there. It's the way I start my mornings. But before I do that, I sit there for maybe a minute max and just, that's like my quiet time. That's my quiet minute. We're all three in sales, so we get it. And there's a lot that we have to keep track of time. We have to keep track of communication. We're always thinking about our clients. We're always thinking about the next thing we need to do. That's a minute where I'm not, and that's enough for me. So,
That's really
when
great
somebody, yeah,
that
Let
you
me
do that.
let me give you, because meditation changed my life. So let me give you the TLDR. The TLDR. I don't even think that's the right word I'm going to give you, but I first of all, I would approach meditation in the same way that you approach prayer, which is meaning there's no intention of, I don't need to get something. I don't need to achieve anything. Like, my assumption is you're going into prayer to listen to God and just to be with him. And I would approach meditation the same way. Like, you're just being with yourself. That said, um, I think breath work is a great. Have you ever done breath work?
Heard about that, and I was like, I probably like that's probably
It
where I should start.
can
I,
alter
I
your
think it's
life.
like when people think it's like woo woo and like, astrology and crystals and breath work and meditate. I'm like, I just think like God gave us all the tools to like have what we need to be successful like on earth. He's like, you just have to like tap into it. So yeah, it's like he, designed us to be able to tap into this, like you said, through breath work, through meditation, like this higher vibrational energy of ourselves, like manifesting, praying, like he gave us all the tools to like do it. But it when people are like, oh my gosh, you sound so woo woo, like with your stuff. But like,
Eh,
yeah,
whatever. Then I'm woo woo,
I'm like,
but
try it and then you'll get it.
right. And that's and what I'll sometimes do is like kind of combine the two if you really want. Like you do 10 minutes of breath work, really kind of drop in, you're present, and then I'll do some prayer, I'll do some affirmations once I'm already in a grounded state. Or if you said sometimes for people that can't quiet their mind or it's just challenging, like meditation doesn't have to be like sitting in stillness. It could be going on a walk, but you don't even bring your phone with you. You're just being in the moment. Like
Yeah.
actually, like using your senses to ground you in the moment, listening to the birds chirp, looking for 5 new things on the same walk. Cause I guarantee you could find like 20 new things that you've never noticed just by being in the moment.
And
So
not
there's
having
a
your
bunch
phone
of
in your
different
face.
ways to like
Yeah.
practice the form of meditation. But like MD said, I think it's very similar to prayer. And I think you're kind of already probably in a meditative state when you're doing it.
It's just, I mean, it's also a dedicated time to not consume anything, right? Like, don't consume your phone, don't consume media. Like, to me, like, it's part of quieting your mind is like, don't attempt to consume or create right now. And that's been helpful for me to really silence things. And then what's weird is that all of a sudden you start to like hear your own voice and you start to feel guided in some ways in terms of like recentering yourself on how you want to spend the rest of that day.
I'm glad you do that, Mike. Like, I don't drink coffee. I am right now because I'm tired, but like, I really don't drink caffeine. I usually wake up and drink ice water. I'm like just a crazy energizer bunny. Like, that's just how I operate. But like, one of my friends, I don't even remember who it was, but like, I remember the post. And this is why it's so important to like post and be authentic of like, someone posted something and it was like, she, posted her cup of coffee and, kind of like you said, Mike, when you have your bone broth, it's like, that's your quiet time. She posted that someone had asked her, when was the last time you like enjoyed a cup of coffee? And she was like, this morning. They're like, no, when was the last time you like enjoyed it? Like, when was the last time you just sat and like, if you like coffee, I drink it when I'm struggling and today's a Monday, but like, I don't really like enjoy it, but it's like, whether it's your bone broth, or just like a quiet morning, your water, like, when was the last time you sat and were present and like, just was like, I'm going to enjoy this cup of coffee. I'm going to enjoy this cup of bone broth. So like having that quiet time is like putting your phone down of like, even if it's 5 minutes, but like that starting your morning with like this is my 5 minutes and it's not going to be interrupted with work emails or Slacks or Microsoft Teams notifications. Like everything can wait 5 to 10 minutes or whatever. And like that is your quiet time. And like that's how you can start your day of like, and I think that really sets the tone for your day. Even like I used to never make my bed. I've made my bed every day for the last like 2.5 years. My life is significantly better. And I'm not like, I can't attribute it to all like making my bed, but like it's one of those like little things. You start your morning on this tone, like you start your day on this tone. Like you look at it and you're like, okay, I have my shit together. Like I made my bed this morning. But like those are the things that like that energy then carries into your day. And you like, it's like when people dress up and like look good, feel good, like it carries into. So like those little things that do carry, taking that 5 minutes to like have your quiet time will carry you into your day with that like same positive energy, I feel like.
Yeah, I think living with intentionality is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
it, and they compound. The little good things turn into big things, and same with the little bad things. Those also compound. All right, Michelle, to wrap this up, what in life are you most proud of?
When I help other people. Like I last night I had a tie blanket party. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten a tie blanket or made one. It's like, you cut fleece and you cut little fringes on the end and you tie them together and you make, it's basically making a blanket, two pieces of fleece, without sewing. Last night I had a little tie blanket party. I went and got a ton of fabric. I invited my friends over. I just, bribed them with food and wine for free labor. And they were like, and then, we made blankets and I'm going to go give them out to homeless people. And they had so much fun too. They were like, this is like therapeutic. This is so fun. Like, it's like, I like being crafty. Like, I'm so glad we did this. I feel good about myself. Like, those are the things that like make me so proud. Like when and it's great to give back, but like writing a check is one thing. When you can be creative or like involve other people, like that's the most fun. Like, and I love that other people love that. Like whenever I can help somebody, that is like something I'm most like the most proud of. Like there's no accomplishment that I've done that I'm so proud of myself for that. Like, but if I can help somebody, or when someone's like, hey, that post really helped me, or like that, like, thank you for being there for me when like my dog died. Thank you for being there for me when like this happened. Like that, like literally makes my heart sing.
Wonderful answer. Michelle McKenna,
So
everyone. Michelle,
wholesome.
thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I mean,